610 Papa Doug, traffic are falling out. This is going to work.
So you got to kind of manage your expectations for what we're able to do.
I have to manage mine. So full stop landing only. You're done. Runway 30, number 3, quarter 1.
This is the Welcome to the Sky podcast, your place for conversations about the best thing in the world, flying. I'm LewDix, your host and friend, as we talk about everything from flight training, aviation news, how to become a better pilot, and much, much more. I've got a lot to say, so sit back, relax, and let's get this thing off the ground on the Welcome to the Sky podcast. Alright boys and girls, welcome back to the Welcome to the Sky podcast on LewDix Aviation. Now today, we're back talking about air traffic control. I've spoken about air traffic controllers before on the Welcome to the Sky podcast, and this one actually kind of goes with it. I am, as a flight instructor, CFI, CFII, I am massively against arsehole controllers, for lack of a better term. Some of the student anxiety about flight training comes from having to talk to air traffic control and the nerves that go with that, you know, having to talk to this big bad air traffic controller, you know, the all-seeing, the all-knowing. If you really think about it, an air traffic controller is a human being just like you and I. You know, they're just on the other side of a radio. They are a human being. At the end of the day, all you've got to do is talk back to that human being, get instructions and read them back. It's as simple as that. Having said it's simple as that, it's never as simple as that for a student. We've all been through it. We've all been through the nerves of having to talk to air traffic controllers. We've all probably said some things that we shouldn't have said over the radio, you know, some things not quite right, and our instructor has picked us up on it. But an air traffic controller has to be very, very patient, and it's a very, very stressful job. But still, you should respond in a professional and a respectful manner. Now, what I'm going to show you today is not professional at all. But first, cast your mind back to another podcast episode where I was talking about an air traffic controller. I showed a situation where I was coming back into Kissimmee Airport here in Central Florida with a student. The controller did this. Now you're going to hear what the controller does here.
670 Mike Alves, semi tower, port beam, large tower for left down 1 south.
That again for 60 Mike Alpha.
This little smile from me here is because I know exactly what's about to happen.
Cessna 670 Mike Alpha, report a beam the water tower for a left downwind to 15.
You heard the tone of the controller completely change. Now, he did slow it down, which we're very, very thankful for, which is what he should have done in the first place. But the tone in which he responded now sets a mood for the traffic pattern that we're about to go and fly.
Alright, so this guy is the guy that I call Mumbles McGee because he mumbles everything and then gets pissed off at you when you don't understand what he says. That's incredible, man.
It is incredible because we are all human beings at the end of the day, and we're supposed to be working together to keep the airspace safe. I just feel like bringing that tone into the conversation that you're having is completely unnecessary and can be a detriment to safety. Okay? But this is the interaction that we get for trying to clarify something, and with this is where it gets dangerous.
Well, that was nice. Thanks, sir. And tower, circle my 5, just to double check. You said left or right downwind?
So you guys have got to listen to the radio. Left traffic.
Left traffic, just double checking, sir. Zero Mike Alpha.
If you listened the first time, you wouldn't have to ask me. That ties up the radio.
You did made a mistake a few minutes ago. Zero Mike Alpha.
The way that he is speaking to us, or Juan, because I'm not saying anything, I'm just sitting there, I'm an audience at this point. It's just absolutely rude, and it's absolutely uncalled for to speak to somebody like that, who is all that Juan was doing was asking for clarification on something. Now, first of all, the controller made a mistake in the first place and wasn't really clear with what he wanted, was slurring his words, was not being clear at all, which I think is the number one job of an air traffic controller, is to be understandable. And this just wasn't understandable. I started calling him Boomhauer as a result of this, which I think is a really fitting name. That's besides the point. The point is, it's a detriment to safety. And it just, I don't think there's any place for that sort of person to be in that position. You're in a position of keeping people safe. And when you have this God complex, is what I see it as, it doesn't mix with aviation. When you see aircraft in your traffic pattern as a nuisance, you don't want to do your job. When you're in that position to keep people in the sky safe, to work with the pilots, not against the pilots, I think it's a real detriment to safety, and I really did. I wanted to highlight that in that episode. So if you've not seen that episode, go and see it. I say a lot more about it, but this episode goes with that because there's another situation with another controller at an airport in California that somebody just tagged me in on TikTok and wanted my views on it. And the TikTok comment section doesn't allow for enough characters for me to explain what I want to explain about it. So, but first, let's preface this by telling you that this is a contract tower. So just like Kissimmee's tower is a contract tower, this tower that you're about to hear is a contract tower as well. So we're going to listen to it and we're going to debrief the whole thing.
00 Papa, traffic you're following is at your 2 o'clock and 2 miles entering a right downwind. You're number 3.
Number 3, looking for number 2 traffic on the right downwind, 6100.
Actually, number 4.
So there's the first mistake. He said he was number 3 and then corrected it to actually he's number 4.
6100 Papa, traffic you're following is at the CMAT planet to Cessna 152. Reduce your speed.
Reducing speed, looking for traffic at the cement plant, 6100 Papa.
So 00 Papa, you have traffic in sight there just east of the CMAT plant on the right base.
Still looking, 6100 Papa.
It's important that you find these guys as quickly as possible.
6100 Papa, I still don't have them in sight. Can I exit the pattern?
6100 Papa, traffic's at your 1 o'clock on the right base. Just make a normal right turn. This will be a full stop landing.
Normal right turn for full stop landing, 6100 Papa.
If you want to go somewhere else, sir, I'm working too hard.
No problem.
6100 Papa, no, traffic you're following up. This is going to work. I need for you to turn back to the downwind.
Listen to the stress, man.
Copy, turning downwind.
Making a mountain out of a molehill.
6100 Papa.
Tower 6100 Papa, we're still negative on that traffic. We turned right there because that's what you told us to do.
That's the instructor.
6100 Papa, traffic you're following is at your 1 o'clock and a half mile. For traffic now, 6100 Papa.
Traffic is in sight now, yes, yeah. We were looking directly into the sun to find them, so you got to kind of manage your expectations for what we're able to do.
I have to manage mine. It's a full stop landing only. You're done. Runway 30, number 3, clear to land.
30, clear to land, and yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it later.
No, it's nothing to talk about.
And Tower 6100 Papa, I totally understand. You're working really hard. We appreciate everything you do, but I need you to mark the tape in case we have to talk about this later.
00 Papa, you can call the company, sir. Runway 30, clear to land.
30, clear to land. Still, you need to mark the tape.
There's no tapes. We're in the 21st century.
Jesus, man. We'll unpack it in a second. So he's coming in, he lands. This is the thing that gets me, the thing that he's going to say at the end here. So they've landed now, all safe.
6100 Papa, taxi to parking this frequency.
Taxi to parking this frequency, 6100 Papa. And just so I can be clear, you're terminating our flight.
00 Papa, you can go to Palo Alto, sir. I'm working 8 hours by myself today. I just don't have time to work this hard for a student. I'm sorry.
That last little comment is what basically enrages me about this whole thing. I don't have time to work this hard for a student. You know, then what are you doing? Actually, is what is this this airport? Is it is this a Delta? What is it? San Carlos Airport. Is it a Class Delta? It is a Class Delta. So you're at a Class Delta airport in California, pretty busy area, and you don't have time to work this hard for a student. That's insane. That's insane. That whole interaction is absolutely what is wrong with contract towers, and we're going to unpack a lot of it. So at first, you know, he seems like he's doing a good job, actually. At first, he's pointing out traffic and trying to get the student to see the traffic. And what I like about the whole thing is that I didn't know there was an instructor on board until the instructor chimed in. I thought this was a student pilot solo. So the student and the controller are going back and forth, and as the student isn't picking up the traffic, which honestly is really difficult to do at first. Instructors probably sat there and trying to get the student to understand how to find traffic. It doesn't want to do the job for the student until he absolutely has to, which is a great instruction method. You know, the only way a student's going to learn how to find traffic is by being allowed to find traffic. It's no good saying, okay, the whole, every single flight, okay, your traffic's there, your traffic's there, your traffic's there. That's not going to work on a solo. But what I liked about that thing there was the instructor didn't jump in until he absolutely had to. He was leaving the student to kind of go back and forth with the air traffic controller now, which I think is fantastic instruction. Problem comes when the student's not finding the traffic. You heard the instructor say the sun's in their eyes, which if you've ever flown with the sun in your eyes, it is very, very difficult to find traffic. It's very, very difficult to see anything. Like on runway 7 out of Orlando Executive, where I fly, in the morning when the sun's coming up and you're landing on runway 7, it's very, very difficult to see anything when you're coming in. The glare off the windshield and stuff like that. It's basically IFAR. It's not. It's very, very difficult. So there are challenges up there, obviously, for the student pilot to try and find the traffic. But as he's not finding the traffic and he's still going back and forth with ATC is now getting even more and more pissed off as the time is going on. And that's where the problems start. You know, I think as an air traffic controller, you've got to expect to a certain extent that, you know, people aren't going to do something exactly at the time that you want them to do them. So the pressure that you put on there by telling the student, it's important that you find these guys as quickly as possible. Oh, well, no shit, Sherlock.
It's important that you find these guys as quickly as possible.
You can hear that the student pilot actually sounds quite competent on the radio. So I would hazard a guess to say that the student knows what they're doing. They're just struggling to find traffic. Well, in that situation, as a controller, just tell, okay, turn base now. Like, that's it. And he did that, and then he turned them back onto a downwind. Like, I'm not really understanding that. And it doesn't look like from this, obviously, I don't know the whole situation, but from the thing on TikTok, the visual, it shows 3 people in the traffic pattern. There's one on final, one on base, and this guy on the downwind.
6100 Sierra Papa, I still don't have him in sight. Can I exit the pattern?
Look at that. And with 3 people in the pattern, you've got a student so rattled that he's like, can we exit the pattern? So now, as a student pilot, you're not really focused now on finding the other traffic. You're more worried about the fact that you've pissed off air traffic control, which becomes the major problem here. This is where things start to go downhill. And I just imagine that if this student was on a solo and going through this, how do they now get back down in a safe manner? It's not safe anymore, is it really? When the pilot, because of the actions of the controller, is more concerned with the controller's feelings, that's when I start to have a problem with this sort of stuff. And this is the problem that I've found with the contract tower here in Kissimmee, you know? In that video, my student became more concerned with the controller's feelings than actually focusing on the flight. The controller actually enraged the student on that flight. Like, my student got pissed off. And I'm saying student, he's commercial, he was just doing a checkout, but the focus was taken away from the flying and went on to the instructor, the controller's feelings, and that's not right at all. And that's what's happened here. So now, instead of focusing on getting the plane down, the students in a panic said, "Oh, can we exit the pattern?" And this is where the instructor steps in.
6100 Sierra Papa, traffic's at your 1 o'clock on the right base. Just make a normal right turn. This will be a full stop landing.
So he's told him make a normal right turn for a full stop. Okay, I get that. Okay, you don't want the aircraft in the traffic pattern anymore because it seems like they're a hassle. It's like the controller's dealing with the mosquitoes. Go away. From what it looks like, and again, I'm speculating here, but it looks like there's only 3 people in the traffic pattern. If you can't, as a controller, deal with 3 people in the traffic pattern, what are you doing in the job that you're in? And this was a similar situation down in Kissimmee with the situation that we had. There was very few people in the traffic pattern, and the controller just didn't want to deal with it.
Normal right turn for full stop now, landing 610 Sierra Papa.
If you want to go somewhere else, sir, I'm working too hard.
There we go. The inner child of the controller comes out. I'm working too hard. Go somewhere else. I completely understand it's a stressful job, and to be honest, I wouldn't really want to do it. But if you're in the job, you obviously know what you're doing. You obviously know what you're getting into, and you're obviously very good at what you do, because you wouldn't be in that position if you weren't good. But I think this controller's lost sight of why he's there. The first sign of any little struggle, you're kind of trying to take your ball and go home, because that's the equivalent. You're not playing the game the way that I want to play it. I'm going home. It's pretty pathetic. My sister used to do that. She used to come and steal the football when we were playing with it and run away with it. This is the equivalent of that. This is the equivalent of my sister as a child coming, stealing the football and running away. Pretty pathetic, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue.
610 Sierra Papa, no traffic is falling up. This is a bit of work. I need for you to turn back to the downwind.
Copy, turning downwind.
So now, that to me sounds like a mistake from the controller, because by looking at the graphic, and I hope this graphic's right, if it's not, then whatever, but you told the aircraft to turn base. So they're going to turn base when you tell them to turn base. There's nothing wrong with them turning base. You cleared them for it. This isn't going to work. Turn back to the downwind. So now you're adding even more confusion to this student who's clearly struggling because of your actions. And now you've turned them back onto the downwind. So now the pressure situation just got even more difficult for the student, because now they started to turn base and now they're turning back onto downwind. But the student's dealing with it. And this is where the instructor steps in. This is where the savior.
Tower 610 Sierra Papa, we're still negative on that traffic. We turned right there because that's what you told us to do.
610 Sierra Papa, traffic is falling is at your 1 o'clock and a half mile. For traffic now, 610 Sierra Papa.
Traffic is in sight now, yes, yeah. We were looking directly into the sun to find them, so you got to kind of manage your expectations for what we're able to do.
I have to manage mine, so full stop landing only, you're done. Runway 30, number 3, clear to land.
And there's the God complex. The instructor steps in, smooths out the situation. We've got the traffic in sight. All right, maybe speaking about it over the frequency isn't the best thing. It's a stressful situation for all involved. The student's stressed. The instructor's now stepped in. He sounds actually quite composed, which is really good for an instructor. The air traffic controllers get stressed out and he doesn't want you there. You're causing a nuisance too, and you're that little mosquito that he's trying to slap. You just can't get that mosquito, but this is the way he's going to get that mosquito. He's going to slap it down onto the desk, look at his hand and spit on it by saying, "You're done." So now the air traffic controller is making the decision to terminate the flight. So maybe we could all chip in to get the air traffic controller a logbook and we'll log him some PIC time, shall we? If he's making decisions for flights. Yeah, all right, let's all chip in. I'll start a GoFundMe. We'll get him a little logbook and we'll send it out. I think he'll like that. That'd be a nice little gift. Maybe it'll cheer him up. But yeah, you're done. With 3 aircraft in the traffic pattern, this is what became too stressful because they were struggling to find the traffic ahead of them. And they were listening and responding and adhering to every single instruction that this air traffic controller gave. And you're going to say, you're done. Again, taking the ball and going home. Pretty piss poor controlling, in my opinion.
30, clear to land, and yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it later.
No, there's nothing to talk about.
No, there's nothing to talk about. I'm taking my ball and I'm f***ing off.
Sure, Poppy. You can call the company, sir. Runway 30, clear to land.
Take this analogy. You go into a fast food restaurant, you give your order, you get your order back. You open the bag, it's not what you ordered. You take it back to the counter, you say to the worker, you got my order wrong. They look at you with a blank stare. They don't give a shit. Oh, you can take it up with a manager if you want. That's exactly what just happened there. But you can call the company. That is the sign of somebody that doesn't care about the job that they are there to do. It's a huge, huge problem. And it reminded me of the situation that I had in Kissimmee. Just somebody who has, like I've said, a God complex that's forgotten that they are there to serve pilots. They work for a private company. Probably feels like he's untouchable, which is why he doesn't want to mark the tape. It just has lost complete sight of why they're there, and just take it up with my manager. I don't care. That's the kind of mindset that person has. Like, whatever, take it up with the manager. Whatever, I don't want to hear it. Just get on the ground, get out of my hair. It's not right, man. Maybe he feels like he has done something wrong, which is why he doesn't want to mark the tape or whatever. But if you can't control 3 aircraft in the pattern, you're in the wrong job.
0, Poppy, you can go to Palo Alto, sir. I'm working 8 hours by myself today. I just don't have time to work this hard for a student. I'm sorry.
I'm working 8 hours by myself today. I just don't have time to work this hard for a student pilot. Get a different job, man. Class Delta Airport, your job is literally to work with students. My God, man. So the airport that I fly out of, Orlando Executive, is a Class Delta airport, FAA tower, and they are really, really busy all the time. There's very rarely a moment, unless you're flying on a weekend, early morning, that they are not busy. The traffic pattern's pretty much always full, and they are always respectful and always accommodating to student pilots. With all the jets that come in and out of that airport, with all the other traffic, they are still respectful and accommodating to student pilots. Here's the thing for a student pilot might be looking at that might be something that stops them from wanting to train. And I really hope that that's not the case, but it could be. I saw a couple of people in the comments saying this is why I'm thankful that I trained out of a uncontrolled airport. Well, maybe so, but it creates a fear of talking to air traffic control. And there's no way that a student or any pilot should be scared of talking to an air traffic controller. Air traffic control and pilots are there to work together to have a positive outcome and a safe outcome to every single flight. It's a team effort. And when there's a controller like this, when there's a controller like there was in Kissimmee, all it serves to do is create a divide between pilots and controllers, which is ultimately a detriment to safety. If you're a student pilot out there listening and watching this, at the end of the day, if you do encounter a grumpy controller, listen to what they say, deal with what they're saying, do not take anything that they say personally, but make sure that you are taking the steps to make your flight safe. There are more nice, accommodating, friendly controllers than there are head controllers. So just think about that. Don't let this be a detractor to flight training, because that's my biggest thing as a flight instructor. This is something that could push somebody away. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Welcome to the Sky podcast. I hope it's highlighted an issue that's resonated with you. And if it has, please leave it a like, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends about it. Share it around, and comment what you think. Comment what your thoughts. If you've got anything to add to what I've said, please let me know in the comments, and we'll start a conversation down there, because I think without talking about this sort of stuff, nothing changes, nothing gets better. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you being here. I'll see you next time.